Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, a couple weeks ago, we got to take a look at a Beretta AL391 Eureka, and it was determined that that loves to destroy clays. Now, today I've got something even more special for you. We got our hands on a Beretta AL391 Teknys Gold Trap, which at the time was the top of the level semi-auto trap gun that Beretta was making. So with that being said, we're going to take a look at the gun. We're going to take a look at shootability and compare it to other competitors. And then lastly, we're going to finish up talking about my final thoughts. Now, if you want to know more history on the AL391, definitely check out our Eureka video that we did a couple weeks ago. But with that being said, let's dive right on in. All right, so today we've got a 2004 Beretta AL391 Teknys Gold Trap. Now this one's in 12 gauge. It does take both 2 3/4 and 3-inch shells. It's got a 30-inch barrel on it that does take the Optima choke system. Now this gun actually has the original case with it today, as well as the original 5 extended Optima chokes, which is pretty cool. Now this is a Gold Trap version, so what that means is it's got some more upgrades and features that the Eureka and other models don't have. One of those being an interchangeable rib. So with this rib, you can either heighten it or lower it to really customize it to the shooter's preference. On top of that, it's got an adjustable comb on it, so likewise you can raise it up or lower it, really to make that customizable to the shooter. Other features on this gun is that it does have Beretta's recoil reduction system built right into the stock, and that works really well with the gas system to keep that a soft shooting gun. Now in terms of looks and cosmetics, this gun has an alloy receiver that's nickel plated, and it has some really nice design and metal work done to it that really differs it from some of the other models that Beretta makes with this. And on top of that, the bolt and the carrier or lifter are both jeweled, so again, making it a little bit flashier. In terms of furniture and the forend and stock, we're looking at a cherry walnut that basically really has a beautiful grain to it, and it's been oil finished to really make that grain pop. In fact, I really like that darker cherry look on this gun. On top of that, you'll also notice that there's an actual emblem on the side of the receiver, and actually that comes out. It's actually between the stock and the receiver, and basically that signifies that it's a gold trap or gold sporting model. Now you might also see one of these with a green emblem, and that would basically mean that it's a gold field model, so something to be aware of if you're looking for one of these guns. Now in terms of specs on this gun, we're looking at 8 pounds 9 ounces, so a little over 8.5 pounds. Length of pull is at 14.5 inches. However, that can be adjustable with spacers and different recoil pads out there. And then in terms of the actual stock itself, it is adjustable because this gun does come with shims, so you can adjust the drop, adjust the cast, things like that as well. So with that said, those are some of the features and some of the upgrades that you'll find on the Teknys. With that said, let's jump back into shootability. All right, so let's talk about shootability. Now this is a gold trap, and it's got a trap barrel on it. So we figured, hey, let's bring it over to the trap field and see how it does. We also wanted to bring it over to the sporting clay field to see how it did there as well. Now, first things first, I like to get a feel for the gun, and what I can say is that like the Eureka, this one has a very slim forend, which I really like. It also has that bigger stock and bigger grip, so you can get a much better purchase on the gun. Now, it did mount for me really well out of the box, so I really didn't have to make any changes. However, if you want, you can interchange out the rib, you can adjust the comb, and then also in terms of balance, you can actually put a weighted forend cap on it as well to give that little bit more balance front heavy for you to reduce muzzle rise. So those are some of the things that you can do to this gun to really personalize it and make it custom to the shooter. However, for me, it actually worked right outside of the box for me, so I kind of left it as is. In terms of trigger, this trigger is actually really crisp, and it only comes in at about 4.5 pounds of pull weight, which is really light for a shotgun. So I was actually pretty surprised and impressed by that. Now in terms of actually shooting the gun, we did use Federal target loads. They were 8-shot target loads, and like you'd imagine, it's a Beretta. It ran flawlessly. We had no issues shooting this gun from loading, cycling, ejecting. It took anything that we threw at it, and it did a great job with performance. Now recoil is the next thing that I want to bring up, because this is a trap gun, and usually they're a little bit heavier. This one comes in at around 8.5 pounds, and it does have that gas system along with the recoil reduction system built into the stock. Now, with me shooting it trap-wise, this shot really well. I mean, this thing breaks clays. I think I shot like a 24 out of a 25, like right out of the box, which is really good for me because I really don't shoot trap. And then for sporting clays, I literally did not miss a clay, which again, you know, I didn't shoot all 50, but it was pretty impressive that, you know, shooting sporting clays with a trap gun, knowing that the point of impact is more like 60-40 instead of 50-50 of what I'm used to, it performs super well. One thing that I did notice with this gun though is that you're going to want to pull it up really tight to your shoulder to really get the max experience out of that recoil reduction system, because once I started doing that, I noticed that my follow-up shots were a lot cleaner and a lot more comfortable for me. Now, the final section is I want to talk a little about my final thoughts with this gun. And in order for me to do that, I really wanted to talk about other competitors of the same class. So first things first, you know, the first gun that comes to mind is the Eureka 391. Now, one of the biggest differences is that Eureka 391 is a full pound lighter than this gun, and it's very noticeable in terms of feel as well as recoil. So for trap specifically, and honestly, even sporting clays, I'd probably take this gun over that Eureka if I had the choice of both. The next gun that comes to mind is the Remington 1100 Competition with the recoil system stock. That one comes in at 9 pounds 2 ounces, so it's actually heavier than this gun. However, it has similar adjustability as this gun. And that one I did notice had less recoil, but it is a tank of a gun. So, you know, for sporting clays, you're not going to want to be hauling that around all day. That's a great trap gun. But again, out of those two, if I was looking for a gun that could do both trap and sporting, I would choose the Teknys over that. Now, the third gun that I have in mind that I shoot a lot is the Beretta A400 XL Sporting. Now, that gun only comes in at 7 pounds 10 ounces, so it's almost a full pound lighter than this gun. I personally, in terms of all-around shooting with trap and sporting, I would go with the A400 over the Teknys. However, if I was specifically just shooting trap, I would definitely go with the Teknys. So even though those are a few examples of different guns and competitors that are in this class, it's important to just kind of recognize that it's going to really depend on what you like. However, when I was shooting the guns, I definitely noticed that the Teknys had certain advantages, whereas the other lighter guns had other advantages, and it really depends on what you shoot the most and what you care about when you're shooting and how it feels when you shoot it. So with all that being said, I would definitely say that this is more of a top-of-the-line Beretta, at least for its time. Like I said, this is a 2004. I know they've got newer trap guns out there, newer models, the A400 model, as well as a lot of other semi-autos to choose from. But I really do feel like if you're looking for something classic that has all the bells and whistles, but it is more of a classic pre-owned gun, this is going to be a great fit for you. At the same time, though, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more versatile and maybe a little bit in a better price range, you might want to look at like an A300 or maybe even a pre-owned A400. But overall, with that being said, we are really lucky to get our hands on the Teknys Gold Trap because it is more of a rarer gun. It is really something special from the Beretta family. Now, with that said, you know, we always love getting our hands on the guns. We love doing the research and sharing it with all of you guys. We really do appreciate your support on the channel, so please take the time to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get notifications of all of our future content. And with that said, we'll see you guys in the next one.